Las Vegas is getting ready to have its second race after it joined the sport following a really long break, and it looks like there's going to be some problems that might be harder to fix compared to the other racetracks on the schedule. The biggest problem is how hot or cold it gets on the track, which looks like it could make the drivers change their plans when it comes to trying to get the fastest time. But with the people running the race saying fewer people want tickets for this race, and with the fans not being allowed to watch the race for free, will Verstappen prove his idea that racing in Vegas is just for putting on a show? And if that's true, can this change something in the future? It's safe to say that Las Vegas is one of the races that caused the most arguments during the 2023 season, but the fact that it had so much close racing and competition between the best drivers has made the fans feel better about it. However, there are some things that we need to think about now, such as the temperature ones. The coldest one should hit the racetrack during the second practice when it should be 9 degrees Celsius, when the warmest one should be in the third practice, and the race itself where the drivers will feel temperatures of 13 degrees Celsius. Of course, the new road surface that was put in last year will help them with making heat in the tires and have a better grip at temperatures like this at night in the middle of the desert is the last thing that the drivers want to deal with when going racing at speeds over 300 kilometers per hour. And make no mistake, this is one of the fastest tracks on the schedule, one in which we're definitely going to see whether the mini DRS trick of McLaren worked amazingly in Baku. So to race here while not having complete trust in the tires that are taking a bit longer to warm up, even in races that give much better conditions than Vegas, is going to be really important for the drivers and the team plans in trying to get the fastest time. We might be expecting a 2-lap warm-up of the tires, something that was expected last year as well, but didn't actually happen. So it's interesting to see whether or not these situations are going to help this year, because when you race under such conditions, there are always chances that something can go totally wrong in the blink of an eye. And if we look at the current expectations for the Las Vegas race in terms of how much people want it, we should be expecting a bit of lower interest from the fans because of all the construction work that's messed up the city again, despite being not as big as it was last year. This is something that was talked about by the Convention Authority President and CEO Steve Hill, who admitted that there are still 90 to 100 tickets to be sold, but he believes that this number will go down a lot in the next couple of weeks. And when talking about it, he mentioned that this is something that happens in every race that Formula One has visited for 2 years in a row. Furthermore, he said year one is kind of like a sword that cuts both ways. On one end, you have this huge demand. Everyone wants to be at this first race, and it should have been. It was an experience that is going to be hard to do again when you get to year two. The demand for the race isn't the same, and that's just not here in Vegas. That's in every race that F1 has opened a new race. The situation between the drivers and the Las Vegas Grand Prix is not going to be fully solved because it's something that caused a lot of drama in 2023. The roadblocks, the construction work, and the massive money that was spent in order to make this race happen have caused a lot of anger throughout the local people in Las Vegas. Small business owners went out on a strike, saying that by blocking the city with this construction work, they have caused their businesses to die, because it basically stopped the customers from coming to their shops, and that is something that was admitted by the people running the race. Verstappen himself was sure that racing here is more about the show and the excitement, and much less about the driving part of Formula One. Despite the growing interest of Formula One fans, what he needs to do in order to win the championship is finish ahead of Norris, without beating him by just 2 points, which, given the problem of the bendy rear wing of the MCL 38, it's not going to be that hard of a job. If we look at the good feeling that Verstappen and Red Bull are coming off from, Brazil Alonso has joined Verstappen's comments about racing here in Vegas and said that the cars are too skinny and are simply not built to drive around here, even though we're talking about a street racetrack that had unusually big numbers of cars passing each other last year. But the manhole problems and the construction work that blocks the city for a couple of weeks might be too much to take from the local people, even though it will take less and less time with every following year having the race. Now, the situation from the driver's point of view might be interesting because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, the warmth of the tires is something that they will need to pay a lot of attention to, and given the fact that the desert at night is not the perfect time to go racing, it could very well mean that teams and drivers will drive much slower and brake a lot earlier in order to avoid wheel locks and risk track limit violations. But nevertheless, the numbers are here, and while there were a lot of people who doubted the 2023 season, it's easy to understand that the impact this race has had was the biggest one in the city's history, creating a net impact of $1.5 billion. Jeremy Aguero has broken down the numbers, and while it looks like this year is not going to come close to these numbers because of the Super Bowl, expecting to be a more money-making and richer event for the USA, it's still going to be something that will bring a lot of money to Las Vegas and not just take away the fancy glamour and the fame like the local people are accusing the sport of doing to beat what the Super Bowl did last year. As a sport that had a 41-year absence is totally amazing, but the conditions under which the drivers are going racing are quite questionable. This is going to be the third race that will be held on Saturday, mostly because of the massive time zone differences between the USA and the rest of the world. So while the local people will be able to watch the race at 1 p.m. their time, the European fans would have to turn on their alarms and be ready for the 6 a.m. qualifying and race start time if you're from the UK, and 7 a.m. if you're in the GMT+1 zones. Still, the expectations for this year, although not as high as last year, are on a very good level, and this is something that was talked about by Jeremy Aguero, a main analyst with the money consulting firm Applied Analysis. When talking about it, Jeremy said it's going to be big and it's going to be one of the largest events Southern Nevada has had in the calendar year. 24 other communities would certainly want to have events at that level of impact, whether that's 400,000, 600 or 800 million dollars. It's too early to be able to tell. The economic impact is certainly going to be lower than it was last year, but that has a lot to do with the capital construction connected with the project being much less. We're now benefiting from all the capital construction that took place last year. What the sport and its organizers have done here in order to sell the rest of the tickets is of course offer them at a cheaper price. F1 put single-day tickets on sale last month for multiple general admission and grandstand areas starting at just $100, and the lowest price section, which was the Flamingo general admission zone, sold out in a week now. A discounted 3-day ticket which covers Thursday and Friday's practices and events in addition to Saturday's night race was put on sale, and they've made quite a smart move by putting Hamilton's number involved. The fans can take a ticket in the West Harmon zone at 44% off, as these tickets were selling for $672 before taxes and fees. This is something that's been talked about by Renee Wilm, the CEO of Las Vegas Grand Prix, stating that she noticed an increase in the ticket interest after their move, further adding, "I think it has really followed a trend of what we expected, which is Vegas being a last-minute market, last-minute purchases just in live entertainment generally this year. So we've seen a really great increase in web traffic and also in conversion rates. I think we're really happy with the demand we're seeing, and we're looking forward to a crowded race. We've been looking to use the learnings both from year one and also just the feedback throughout the year so that we can reach as many fans as possible during the race weekend and really spread out the ability to come see the race in real life on track. With all of this in mind, do you think that there's a situation in which the Las Vegas race will turn out to be a failure in its second year, now that they're very much under the pressure to deliver top-notch performance in very harsh conditions? And if so, do you think it will change the story of the sport after the successful outing in the first year? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in Hamilton's unexpected departure from Mercedes, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.